Good afternoon. Welcome. Glad you could join us live, and if you're watching the replay, welcome to you too as well. So let's jump right in and get started talking about how to avoid travel scams on Go for Lunch for April 28th, 2026. Brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm Roger Harmon, your host, and we're here as usual to make your technology work for you. Well, I hesitate to bring in holidays involving food, but I couldn't resist National Blueberry Pie Day. Blueberries are so healthy for you, even in a pie. So let's all go out and get a slice of blueberry pie today. So, unfortunately, the world we live in is fraught with scammers. So when you see deals on the internet that look too good to be true, they probably are. So we want to teach you how to stay safe while booking online. And is it safe? Well, it can be. So scammers are famous for using spoofed sites to steal money and passwords. In other words, they create a site that looks just like the real site, and then they use it to steal your information and your money. 35% of Americans have been scammed while booking travel online, so that's 1 in 3. So those odds are pretty amazing, so you want to make sure you're not among the 35%. So, how does a typical agency scam work? Well, as we said, they will copy sites like Booking.com or Expedia or many others. And they also will post fake support numbers on the internet. So when you go searching for a phone number, you might get the fake phone number instead of the real one. So you want to go to the actual website to contact them. So what they get is your financial details, and sometimes even you'll get a flight maybe, but your data is often sold on the dark web. Stolen passports from Americans sell for $850 on the web, so be careful guarding your passport as well. So the number one red flag is the too good to be true deal. If it seems impossible, it is. Welcome, Leslie. And heavily discounted tickets that aren't on the airline official site are definitely red flags. So you always want to look at the official site to confirm that that is a legitimate fare. So if you don't have a ticket number, you don't have a flight. So always request the e-ticket number, not just a confirmation number. And a hold looks like a confirmation, but it does not guarantee a seat. So the rule is if you don't get a ticket number, don't give any payment information. So ways to spot the spoof. Well, you can check the URL and security. So you want to look closely at the URL. So the URL should be just airbnb.com, but they insert Airbnb booking. So that's a whole different URL. So anytime you see something suspicious in the URL itself, that is a site to avoid. Check for HTTPS, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. So let's go over here to our other computer and hit the wrong button. So here we go, and we're going to go over here to, there we go. Okay, so here we are on the Expedia site. So when I say check for HTTPS, we're going to zoom in here. I'm talking about right here. So you would have to click on the URL to see that. The URL is just going to say expedia.com, but when you click on it, it will show the HTTPS. So we're going to make sure that the S is there. So if it's not, it's probably not a valid website. So hover before you click. So hover your mouse over any email link and make sure it looks like a legitimate email, not jerrysmith@gmail.com or something like that. And if you get a robocall or an unsolicited email, you want to be very careful about that kind of a travel deal. You want to research it. You want to look for reviews for the company on the internet, and you can always actually search for the name of the company and the word scam and see what you find. So you want to protect your identity. If you check onto a website that you've been to before and you have a password for, and the password fails, you may have just handed your password to a scammer. So if that happens, you want to change your password immediately. So you also should not record your credit card information in your loyalty accounts. So you always want to manually enter the credit card. Now you can store the credit card in your password manager and then simply copy and paste it into the site when you need to, but don't store it on the website. So here's a travel tip. The best time to book domestic summer flights is 1 to 3 months in advance. And actually, if you book it less than 21 days in advance, the fares are going to be much higher. So plan ahead and book your flights and your hotels and other travel arrangements 1 to 3 months in advance and save money. So that brings you to questions. If you haven't already, please put your questions in the comments section there on YouTube, and we'll get to those in just a second. Do me a favor, share the GoFor Gazette that comes to you every Monday morning about 7 o'clock with others that you know that use Apple devices. So let's see what we've got here in our questions and comments. And so here is an interesting remark from Leslie Ann. I hear airlines use one's info to increase their airfares. So yes, this is called, I think it's called on-demand pricing or demand pricing. So what any travel site might do, if they see you coming back to their site again and again, they might raise the prices. So a way to get around this is to go into incognito mode on your browser, and then they can't trace you as easily. And also you could use a VPN. So they're not getting the same IP address, so they're not being able to trace you as well. So that's a good point. And Chris says, get the insurance with Airbnbs to avoid a scam. A family wedding trip was almost a disaster with non-existent first destination. They were saved by insurance. Well, that's a good tip. Thank you very much. And Alice says, who can you report these things to? Is there a regulation? You can report it to the Federal Trade Commission. You can report it to the FBI at the, I think it's the c3.com or c3.gov. And you could report it to the actual real company, and they probably will want to take legal action to get rid of that company. And Leslie Ann says, is this stuff impossible to stay current on? Yes, it is a challenge because of AI now. It's getting easier and easier to duplicate websites that look authentic. So you just have to look for the little telltale signs, be an internet sleuth, a cyber detective, and sniff out the clues. Can you share more about VPNs to avoid throttling per yesterday's GoFor Gazette? Okay, so yesterday in the GoFor Gazette, our tip was if you have an issue with Netflix or any streaming service slowing down or stopping or throttling, are also known as buffering, when you get a buffering notice, it could be because your internet provider, so whoever it might be, Cox, Comcast, CenturyLink, whoever, they may be throttling your internet traffic. But if you use a VPN, they can't see what you are doing. They can only see that you are doing something, but they can't see where you're going, because a VPN protects you from them seeing your destination on the internet. So that way they can't throttle you if they don't know where you're going. So that is as Alice says, a good question, Chris. Thanks. And so Leslie Ann wants to know, how do you go into incognito mode? Well, let's just go to Safari and show you. So I didn't have Safari loaded, so take a second here. So here we are in Safari. You go up to the menu bar and you go into, now in Safari it's called a private window. So you go here to New Private Window and you click on that, and then it tells you you're doing private browsing. So it says Safari is designed with privacy in mind by preventing tracking by default. Private browsing adds additional privacy protection to all tabs in this window. After you close this window, Safari won't remember the pages you visited, and the page you visit won't be able to remember you either in your search history or in your autofill information. So that's how you do it in Safari. In Google, which of course we don't recommend, it is called incognito, I believe. So great question, Leslie Ann. Oops, we wanted to go to here and back to the questions. There we go. And Alice says, if we take our insurance straight away, does it cover us from a scam? Well, so actually, if I don't know about how you would be getting your insurance other than on the site where you're booking it. So if you can get insurance from a third party that doesn't involve the site, that might cover you. You would have to, check with your insurance carrier. So I'm not sure about that. You'd have to do a little more research, but that certainly is a good question. So thank you for all your participation today. That really makes the webcast more interesting to everybody involved. So I'm glad we all learned something today. If you think of anything that you would like to find out about after we finish, the information on how to contact me by telephone and by email will be coming up. So thank you again for being here. We'll see you next week on Tuesday at high noon. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. Next week, Tuesday, high noon, for another Go for Lunch. Have a great week.